August 28, 1976. The Cold War is boiling over. But the spark that almost ignited global annihilation happened in the claustrophobic depths of the Mediterranean Sea. Deep underwater, the Soviet K-22 wasn't just a submarine. It was a 5,700-ton submerged nuclear silo locked in a paranoid game of cat and mouse with the United States Navy. Relentlessly stalking it from the surface was an American frigate, completely unaware that a fatal acoustic blind spot was about to trigger a devastating physical impact. The Americans have a terrifying term for an accident involving their own nuclear weapons, a broken arrow. But violently ripping open a live Soviet nuclear cruise missile in the middle of the ocean, there wasn't even a code word for that level of nightmare. This wasn't a deliberate act of war. It was a terrifying, blind collision that left the heavy steel housing of a live Soviet nuclear cruise missile violently gashed against an American warship. This is the story of the Voge collision. To understand how this catastrophic collision happened, you have to look past the hardware and look at the map. This was not a random accident, and it was not a routine patrol. In the late summer of 1976, the Mediterranean Sea was the ultimate Cold War chessboard. The United States Sixth Fleet and the Soviet Fifth Eskadra were locked in a constant high-stakes game of acoustic dominance. The Soviets deployed heavily armed guided missile submarines to target American aircraft carriers, and the Americans deployed dedicated hunter-killer groups to stalk them. The United States Navy task force was there to aggressively shadow the K-22, mapping its acoustic signature and asserting absolute control over the sector. The tip of that American spear was the USS Voge. The crew wasn't just tired, they were paranoid. Every sailor on that deck remembered the Yom Kippur standoff just 3 years prior, where the US and Soviet fleets came within inches of opening fire in these exact waters. They knew the Mediterranean was a hair trigger. The Vogue was a Garcia-class frigate. Displacing 3,400 tons, its Westinghouse steam turbines delivered 35,000 shaft horsepower to a single propeller. It was a high-speed pursuit tool, a classic American single-hull glass cannon built to sprint and chase down submarines, not to survive a heavy kinetic brawl. The Vogue was incredibly fast, but structurally fragile, and it was actively shadowing a monster. The K-22 was an Echo II class guided missile submarine. It displaced nearly 5,700 tons submerged. Unlike the American frigate, the Soviet submarine utilized a massive double-hull architecture. It featured a thick inner pressure hull fully encapsulated by a voluminous, streamlined outer casing made of rugged AK-25 high-yield steel. It was an armored Leviathan, designed specifically to smash upward through thick Arctic ice and survive extreme combat damage. On August 28th, the Vogue was aggressively tailing the K-22, using advanced sonars to track the submarine's noisy nuclear reactors, tracking it alongside other U.S. naval units in the sector. But stalking a 5,000-ton nuclear-armed behemoth is a terrifying game. By that afternoon, the Soviet commander realized his acoustic picture was degrading. He was losing track of the American fleet above him. Frustrated and determined to regain situational awareness, he decided to ascend to periscope depth to hunt them visually, and in doing so, he was about to make a catastrophic psychological error that would render him completely blind. To understand the collision, you have to understand the reality of the hunt. The USS Vogue wasn't out there alone. Operating in tandem was another American frigate, the USS Moinester. And as the Soviet commander decided to regain his tactical footing, the American task force handed him a highly tempting target. The Des Moines Easter became a massive, loud acoustic magnet. The commander of the Soviet K-22 locked his sights entirely onto her, determined to shadow her every move and gather intelligence on the American fleet. But in naval warfare, hyper-fixation is a fatal disease. Target fixation dynamics. By concentrating all of his acoustic sensors and periscope sweeps solely on the Moinester, the Soviet commander created a massive artificial blind spot. The human brain actively filters out secondary threats when completely absorbed by a primary target. He was essentially operating with acoustic and visual tunnel vision. Therefore, the K-22 was dangerously blind to its own flanks. The commander operates with a false sense of absolute control. He watches the Moinester through the periscope, believing he is the apex predator in this sector. He does not realize he is the prey. Cut back to the bridge of the USS Voge. The mood isn't routine, but it isn't blind terror either. It is a relentless, suffocating pursuit. Because while the K-22 stalked the Moinester, the USS Voge had slipped directly into the Soviet submarine's baffles. This is the acoustic dead zone directly behind a submarine's own Chernu propellers, where it is physically deaf to anything trailing it. For roughly 2 hours, the American captain flawlessly tracked the K-22. The Voge rode perfectly inside the submarine's blind spot, trailing just 1,000 to 2,000 yards back. They were close enough that when the K-22 momentarily popped up to periscope depth, American sailors on the weather decks were casually snapping clear photographs of the Soviet optical mast cutting through the Mediterranean swells. Sworn enemies operating in a geopolitical powder keg mere yards apart. What the American crew cannot possibly know is the sheer depth of the Soviet commander's tunnel vision. The U.S. captain assumes the K-22 knows they are right behind them. He assumes the Soviet submarine is playing a highly aggressive game of Cold War chicken. But he isn't. The Soviet commander has absolutely no idea the 3,400-ton USS Voge is hovering right over his shoulder. Every second that passes brings the globe closer to a catastrophic miscalculation, and the Soviet commander's timer has just run out. As the K-22 frantically searches for the distant Moinester, the engagement completely shifts from a tactical stalk to a nuclear nightmare. The K-22 is a dedicated strategic platform. Embedded within its massive outer casing are 8 elevating launch cylinders containing SSN-3 Shattuck cruise missiles. Intelligence confirms they are armed with heavy nuclear warheads. If these two vessels collide, it is not just a shipwreck. It risks the physical destruction of a nuclear weapon and a severe radiological contamination zone right in the middle of the Mediterranean. The Soviet commander hasn't decided to retreat, but he is losing his grip on the tactical picture. Struggling to maintain acoustic contact with the distant Moinester, he orders a routine but highly dangerous maneuver, an ascent to periscope depth to get a visual. Acoustic baffling. By ascending and maintaining his focus entirely forward on the Moinester, the Soviet commander kept the 3,400-ton USS Voge perfectly hidden inside his own acoustic wake. He is driving a 5,700-ton nuclear warship to the surface, completely blind to his rear. Deafened by his own propellers, the Soviet commander has absolutely no idea that USS Voge is hovering right over his aft sector, matching his course. For the American captain, the agonizing 2-hour stalk shatters. On the sonar screens, the massive Leviathan they have been safely trailing suddenly spikes in elevation. It isn't running away, it is ascending directly into their path.
Oh my God!
The Soviet commander pops his periscope above the swells, and the illusion of his tactical advantage instantly shatters. He expects to see empty ocean. Instead, the massive steel wall of the Voge's hull is cutting directly across his path. He screams the order for an emergency crash dive. But physics does not care about diplomacy. A 5,700-ton mass of steel cannot simply hit the brakes. The submarine continues to surge forward, caught in a fatal, heavy upward drift, rising on a direct collision vector towards the frigate. The American captain has seconds to react. Seeing the massive Leviathan drafting bound dark shadow just yards beneath the surface, he screams the ultimate emergency command to save his ship. All engines back full.
All engines back full!
Mechanical lag. A 1970s steam turbine cannot stop on a dime. It requires an agonizing 30 to 60 seconds of mechanical delay to physically close the ahead throttle valves, arrest the massive forward momentum of the shaft, bleed the high-pressure steam, and begin turning in reverse against the drag of the ocean. The bridge crew is trapped in a terrifying delay. They are forced to watch in horror as their forward momentum physically refuses to obey that order in time. The frigate cannot stop, and the submarine cannot die fast enough. The collision geometry is mathematically locked, and the target the Soviet nuclear cruise missiles are ascending into is directly beneath the frigate's helicopter hangar, the absolute most vulnerable section of the ship.
The collision did not happen as a dead-on perpendicular strike. It was a violent, grinding kinetic shear. When the K-22 struck the USS Voge, it initiated a catastrophic sequence of metal-on-metal trauma that crippled both ships. To understand the sheer violence of this impact, you have to look at the math of two massive bodies occupying the exact same space. A 5,760-ton mass moving at periscope depth possesses immense kinetic potential. But because the Voge was moving and the K-22 was ascending from below, this wasn't a dead-stop brick wall impact. It was a devastating, low-speed glancing blow, a massive transfer of shearing force. Therefore, the submarine's hardened sail and reinforced missile containers acted like a massive cold-rolled steel wedge. It didn't T-bone the Voge, it violently scraped along the frigate's port quarter. The immense friction buckled the Voge's relatively thin, unarmored stern plating and split the internal transverse bulkheads. But the true destruction was happening directly beneath the surface. Seconds before the impact, the U.S. captain had ordered all engines back full. Deep underwater, the Voge's massive bronze propeller was spinning at maximum RPM, desperately trying to bite into the water and drag the ship backwards. As the submarine's armored sail and forward missile tube number 1 scraped underneath the frigate's port side, they drove directly into those spinning blades. The relatively soft marine bronze of the propeller was absolutely no match for Soviet high-yield steel. The massive blades were violently sheared and badly deformed upon impact, throwing heavy shrapnel into the ocean. In less than 30 seconds, the kinetic transfer was complete. The Voge's propeller was a mangled, sheared-off wreck of metal, and the outer casing of the K-22's forward missile tube number 1 was a violently gashed, jagged ruin of classified Soviet engineering. The grinding finally stopped, but the agonizing wait to see if they had just sparked World War III had just begun. The 3,400-ton American Hunter was now completely dead in the water, a sitting duck. There was no desperate fight against waist-deep water. The real panic was happening in the communications room. The deafening roar of grinding metal had been replaced by an agonizing, terrifying silence across the ocean surface. The American captain immediately flashes a top-secret Pinnacle report directly to the Pentagon. The United States Navy has just violently crippled a heavily armed Soviet asset in international waters. The Mediterranean is already a geopolitical powder keg, and they've just struck a match. As the Voge drifts helplessly, the commanders are agonizing over the silence. They are waiting to see if Moscow's response will be an angry diplomatic protest or a retaliatory strike. The crew of the K-22 is experiencing their own claustrophobic nightmare. For the Soviet crew, the violent scrape that rocked their 5,700-ton world has been replaced by the sound of groaning, twisted metal above them. They know their towering sail is mangled, but more importantly, they know the outer casing of forward missile tube number 1 was violently slashed open by the American frigate's hull. Nestled inside that torn outer casing is an SSN-3 cruise missile armed with a nuclear warhead. As the submarine sits in the pitch-black abyss, the crew holds their breath, wondering if the shockwave fractured the primary coolant pipes to their twin nuclear reactors, or worse, breached the weapons containment. But Soviet engineering holds. The collision completely validates the Soviet double-hull design philosophy. The cavernous spaces of the saddle ballast tanks and the sacrificial outer casing successfully absorbed the grinding kinetic impact before it could penetrate the inner pressure hull. The reactors remain stable. The warhead, though its outer housing is violently gashed, does not detonate. The K-22 is brutally battered, blinded, and humiliated. Its hydrodynamic stealth is ruined, but it can swim. The Soviet submarine manages to stabilize its undamaged propellers. Escorted by other Soviet vessels in the sector, it begins a slow, humiliating surface retreat towards a shallow water anchorage near Greece, leaving the crippled American frigate drifting behind. The immediate crisis of a sunken ship or a radiological disaster had been averted for both crews.
But the shadow war doesn't stop for damage control. In the bright Mediterranean daylight, American maritime patrol aircraft immediately begin aggressively circling the wounded submarine. They aren't dropping torpedoes, they are dropping altitude, snapping classified photographs of the K-22's jagged, peeled-back armor, desperate to capture exactly how much punishment the Soviet beast can actually take before it breaks. The Mediterranean crisis ended not with a strategic masterstroke, but with a slow, agonizing retreat. The United States Navy secured their photographs, mapping the exact structural breaking point of the Echo II's high-yield casing. But Moscow walked away with an intelligence prize just as valuable. Undeniable proof of exactly how close and how aggressively American hunter-killer groups were willing to operate. There were no victors in the Ionian Sea that day, just two battered crews who realized how easily a single acoustic blind spot could trigger a massive radiological disaster in international waters. The collision didn't de-escalate the shadow war, it just guaranteed the next impact would be worse. The Voge collision was a 3,400-ton glancing blow. But what happens when that exact same tactical error occurs against a vessel 23 times larger? 8 years later, the Cold War chessboard shifted to the Sea of Japan. Another Soviet nuclear submarine surfaced completely blind into the path of an American warship. But it didn't hit a fragile single-hull frigate. It surfaced directly beneath the USS Kitty Hawk, an 80,000-ton oil-burning supercarrier moving at flank speed in the dead of night. It wasn't a kinetic shear, it was an 80,000-ton sledgehammer that left a piece of the Soviet submarine's propeller permanently embedded in the carrier's hull. Click the video on your screen right now to see the terrifying physics of the Cold War's heaviest collision.
He was looking at 80,000 tons of American sovereign territory.